In this video, we're going to figure out how we can connect to an API and get or draw this wonderful chart here. You can see this API gets all of these names and of course all of these financial numbers here, and you will see they are directly reflecting here as well. So we're going to use an API from a website, and then we're going to try to grab that data and draw the chart with this. So let's start to look at this. In this video, we're going to focus on how to connect an API to a bar chart in Chart.js. Connecting an API with Chart.js becomes very powerful because from then on you can go deeper and do more stuff with your chart that is more dynamic. So what we're going to do here, and we're going to start very basic. First of all, we're going to draw the chart here, and eventually we're going to use a default API here from dummy.rest API example, which is this one here. So we want to use this. So before we can do this, let's go and draw the chart here first. So go to here on Getting Started, chartjs3.com, Getting Started. And then you might see this here. For some reason I get this error, but if you're on Firefox, it works fine. And I noticed on my other computer on Google Chrome, it works fine as well. So there might be some settings on my laptop. Anyway, I need only this chunk of code here. So we're going to copy this code here. So once you copy this code, and if you want to understand this code, please check out this specific video here. So we're going to paste this in here, and once I paste this in here, we're going to cut out this, or this is for me, more for the title. And then just paste it in there, and I'll save this and refresh. There we are. So we have now a basic bar chart here. So what I want to do here is first, before I even use the API, just trim it down or remove excess information. I want this color here. We don't need to have all these random colors. We don't need any kind of rainbow effect or etc, etc. So I'm going to remove everything what is not necessary. Here, this one here, for the border color, I just make this number 1. There we are. So if I save this now, refresh, now it's just a basic bar chart here. Beautiful. So what I want to do now is start working, and this is very important. We have this code here, and we need to modify this code. Secondly, we will need another tab, which will be basically the fetch code. So I'm going to separate them more and more, and as eventually I will have to move on to another structure of coding, which is regarding to React and Vue.js and Angular. I'm in the process of switching to that as well, and having that understanding becomes very valuable, especially that many people have requested regarding to React. So what we're going to do now is this. We're going to grab here, we're going to create first a new script here, and this script will refer us to any other item, which will be in this case source, and my source is all on my desktop here. This will be called apps.js. Why apps? Well, normally it's app, but I have another file that is being used for apps, so I don't want to damage that file. That's why it's app. So this is my apps.js file. All right. So if I save this here, of course nothing happens. Now let's start to work on it. So what we need to do here, basically we need to grab our dummy data, and then we need to fetch that data. So what we're going to do here is basically this. We have all this here. Well, you can see here there's a lot of information here, or at least some explanation, but all we need is this specific item here, which will indicate the API. And if you would click on it, in essence, if you click on the details, what does it look like, or how does it look like? It is a sample of this specific information. You can see your ID number, basically a database. In essence, API, or at least this here, is a JSON database code. Now you can see here anything, whatever is related to it. Here the salary, we have the employee age, the profile image, and employee name. Eventually we're going to use this. The name is important and the salary is important. Eventually we can do this one, but that doesn't matter for now. Let's focus on these two here first. So what we're going to do, I'm going back here. Just so to get this, make sure you go to dummy.restAPIexample.com. Very important. And all we're going to grab here is now this specific item. So once you copy this, and just a quick note, because this API sadly is being used quite often. So what happens is you get a lot of, sometimes it will not load. So then you have to refresh it. I'm going to show you some new ways how we can push it to load, but sometimes we have to refresh it multiple times. You will notice it as well in the video. I realize that this API is maybe not the best example because there's too many people using it, but it's a very easy one to start with. So that's why it's good to use. However, it might be overloaded. Anyway, That's for later on. We can worry about it later on. Most important one now is here. In this apps.js, what we're going to do here is we're going to create a fetch. Basically, what I want to do here, I want to fetch data from the API here. So what I need to do here, first of all, is we create a constant, and this constant will be our API link, which equals the item we just copied, which is this here. I'm not sure if maybe you need to use this, doesn't matter here for now. Make sure that this is in single quotations here, or in quotations, because it is a string value. So what we're going to do here now is the following. I'm going to say here async, because we're going to use a synchronize or asynchronous connection function, and let's call this our API data function. Very straightforward. And there we are. So what we're going to do in here, well, we're going to copy this API link, and sometimes you have like a hidden key, that there should be a key here somewhere that imagine it would be like this, dash, and here would be the, or this would be the key. However, for now, I will not, but eventually I will cover other items regarding with that, because I think that will be very interesting for anyone who wants to go more deeper in more advanced items in Chartjs. Anyway, we have this here. So we got this, and then we say here, the first thing we want to do is we want to create a response here. So we say response, and what we do here is async. So that will mean that we need a response, and the response will be await. And await is basically we're going to fetch something, because we're going to use here the fetch API. What does the fetch API really do? Well, imagine you're throwing data, and this is an asynchronous connection, meaning this, while everything else will be loaded, this will still be standby until we get the data, and then it will be loaded. So it will not be loaded in a synchronous way, meaning in a order, chronological order. This might load later, even while the other things has been loaded afterwards. Or what I mean by that. So imagine if here would be something else. This might load first while this is not even done yet, and that is fine because this is a async. It understands, JavaScript understands that this needs to load or needs to get the connection first outside of the source. That might take some seconds or a while. While this here, there might be another function that changes something on the side that will load already, and this one will then eventually load once it grabs the data from elsewhere. In this case, elsewhere is this specific source. And since this source is quite heavy, or it has a lot of traffic, it means that it might be delayed. And you will see that nicely here later on. Anyway, that's fine. So what I want to do now is the following. So we have the response here, await. So we say await, fetch, until we get the fetch. Think about fetch like throwing a bone. And you say to a dog, fetch the bone. You throw it, the dog goes after it, and then comes back with the bone. So that's the response. So we wait for the fetch if the bone has been returned back. And of course, what is the response? Well, based on this URL here. That's the one. Once we did this, we're going to say a constant data points, and this will be equal await, and basically here will be the response, which is this one here above, and then we say here .json. What it basically means is the following. We are waiting for this response. Once this response works, we want to get this response and convert it into, or parse, sorry, that's parse is the right term, parse it into JavaScript. We want to parse because it's all JSON, and if you wonder what does parse mean, parse means to make something readable for. So we make it readable, this JSON code that we expect to get, we will make it readable for JavaScript. That's basically what we're doing here. So that's why we're parsing. So once we did this, then we can start to look at certain values. And just to make sure we have something, let's go and do a data points console log here. So if I save this, and let's see here, of course this here is not yet connected, or at least what is not connected, it doesn't have yet anything here, except for this. So if we refresh here, let's see what happens. Nothing happens here. Did we get anything? No. Alright. So the reason why we don't get anything here right now, of course, we didn't create this connection here with the async. So it doesn't understand anything else that we need to do. So what I'm going to do here now, and that's probably the best way to do it, is to start getting this code into a proper way. Because this here should not load immediately. It should load after we went to connect to the apps.js. And here, after we have loaded this data will eventually be inserted in here, in this specific item and here. So let's start to do this right now, or at least grab here and solve certain items. So we have here the script. First thing what we want to do here, because remember we're going to work with employee name and we're going to work with the employee salary. So what we're going to say here, let's say here this we create a array here, which is a count for a let value, employee, and then full name equals blank array. There's nothing yet. Then we have another one as well. We can just copy this, put it in there, and then we can say here that this could be salary data. So once we have this, what I want to do here eventually is as well an asynchronous connection, and this asynchronous connection will be called function, and then we can say display our chart. Very straightforward. We want to load the chart only once asynchronous it loads, it did something that we want, and what we eventually want to do is make sure that we grab certain data. So here the async will await. So we will wait for a response from where? Here, pay attention here, because we connected to this file, the apps.js, and we want to await for this function name here. And this has been completed. At that moment, we want to draw the chart. We don't want to draw the chart, or basically this could be even say draw chart, doesn't matter. Draw chart, but we have to wait first for the data of the API data, which is our API connection. That API connection will eventually fill up this information here. So what we're going to do now is very straightforward. We have this here. Then we can say here enter, enter, and then what I want to do is I want to cut out all of this information we have here. We cut it out, paste it here between. Then give this a proper indentation. There you are. So now we have this. Now it works, or at least within this item here, the chart will load once we grab the data. So if I save this now and refresh, nothing will load, of course. If I open up here, does it give anything? Not yet, because we didn't do anything yet. It doesn't understand exactly what's going on. We're waiting for data, waiting here, but here it does really nothing because it doesn't give us, or it doesn't return any data here. Don't worry, we're going to work on this. So what I want to do here, at least the labels will be equal to this. This will be the label for the employee name, and every employee name will also have an employee salary. So we have the salary data in here, and this weekly sales, this could be maybe annual salary or wages, doesn't matter, whatever you want to call it. Save this here, refresh. Of course, nothing happens here. Alright, so don't worry about this because we expect nothing to happen because we didn't return any data yet. It's waiting for the response, but it discovered we have no response yet because it doesn't return anything. It only shows basic information here. So what we need to do here is now start to work and do something here. Well, we can see here this. What we want to do is the following here. Let's start to grab certain items here because we have this await data API, but I guess it will not show anything here, of course, here as well. But if I do a console log, let's see if we do here anything, just to make sure. Let's say hello. Refresh. Alright, it doesn't want to load at all. If I copy this right now, you will notice that if I copy this here, we just put this in here. If I save that, doesn't do anything as well. Fair enough. Let's continue on here. So what we're going to do here is the following. Oh, of course. So why it didn't work? This makes sense, of course. We have this draw chart function. I need to trigger the draw chart function. Sorry about this. I just realized it, of course. We didn't activate this one yet. So we want to trigger this now. So if I do this, draw chart, now we should definitely have something. Alright, we get something here. It starts to see something, but you can see here we get this error. Alright, we get an error sometimes, but sometimes it does work. So you see here, hello. Of course, it doesn't understand yet so far. So why? You can see here we get all of this information here already. So this works all nicely. So as I explained previously, because it is quite heavy, this is being overly used, we get these errors here sometimes. So you need to refresh. If for some reason you don't see it, I'm going to show you something that you might consider. You go here in your console log, you click here on that, what is this? This is the menu or the extra menu settings. You scroll down here and then make sure you select this one, disable and enable cache while DevTools are open. I don't recommend you to keep this always checked. Make sure you check this item here only for now. But later on, once you're done, uncheck it. And the reason why is it will load everything again and again, which is heavy and it slows down, of course, your item. But this tends to work more better. And if it doesn't work, you need to open and close your item here and then try to do it again here. You have to do it multiple times. There you are. So you can see this is a trick how to do it. Of course, it slows down because it will remove everything and reloads everything again. Anyway, we have here some response here that starts to look very nice. But we're not done yet because we get here now all the data points. And you might remember we only want two items. We want the name and we want the employee salary. So let's start to work on that right now. So what we're going to do now is basically we need to play around with arrays. So what we're going to do here is first one, let's say here constant. And this constant will be the salary. And this salary will be equal to what? Well, we want to grab all the, at least we want to grab all the salaries here. So how do we do this? Well, for that we're going to use the map feature. But if you click on this, where do we need to go? Let's go here. You can see here, if we select your data points, we will see everything. But what we want to go from the data points, we want to go here into data. And then from data, we could get here the employee name, but also the employee salary. So these two we need to grab. If we want to get the salary first, we go data, and data will loop with the map. With the map option, we will loop through all of these data points here. Apparently there are 23 or 24 employees. Remember, length is 24. And what we want to grab now is the employee salary. So we want to loop this and push this basically in our array. So how we do this? Well, all we're going to do here is the following. We're going to say here the data points dot data. That is this one here. As you can see your data, and then here I have this array now value. But I don't want to put in any array value. We just say here map. And in this map, all we're going to do is here we're going to say here this can be the amount. So what we want to do is we want to loop through every value in the map with the amount. And this amount will be specifically for this. We say here amount dot employee underscore salary. So how do we get this? Well, the amount is basically that we are now selected in this part. We are in here. Data points data, which is here in the data. And then we just say go now to this salary section here. That's basically what this amount means. Amount is just a shortcut for this, but indicating just a single value in this case would be the first one would be this amount, and the second one would be that amount. So we have this, and then we grab all of these together. The moment we do this, then we can, I guess this is not even necessary, these days it's obsolete. We can do a console log, and we say grab the salary. So the moment we do this, save that. And let's refresh again, let's see if it works. Alright, doesn't work, let's open and close this, and do it again, and again. And I guess this time I'm not that lucky, being overly loaded. Let's see, did I uncheck that one maybe? No. As you can see here, this is the only item here. Anyway, what we will eventually get is the value here. You get this issue here, but this is because it's being overloaded here. And probably there are certain things in that API that's maybe not the right way of coding. Anyway. Let's leave it for now, and later on I will just refresh it again. What I want to do here, because this is just the console log of the salary, and what I want to do is this. Remember here, we put in these values here. And this is basically what you can call hoisting. I want to put in the value at the very top here. And what will happen eventually, this value will be applicable everywhere, and it will be recognized. So this salary here, that's why we don't have to create a array push. We just say here, this equals this, because this console log is a array value by default. It already understands it. It creates an array specifically for this. So this is number one. So let's see here if this now starts to work. I hope it does. There you are. Now it starts to give shape, and you can see here we get the numbers here, and these are all the salaries here, which is 320,800. So let's look at our API. What was that one? I guess here, sorry, this is the one. We go through all of these. Tiger Nixon, had the value of 320,800, which is correct. So now we are getting the item here. So if we do this now, we have this here all. We have this one here as well. So the next thing what I want to do here is the full name for the employee, which is basically the name Tiger Nixon here for the first one, employee name. Same methodology as what we did here above. You can just copy this, paste this all in here, and then we say here, instead of salary, we can now say here full name. We're going to grab this, and then we say data point here. It will be full name as well. Oh, sorry, we cannot make sure. We have to make sure that this is unique. So we say just a name. And then we say here name equals employee, not employee salary. No, we're going to grab now the employee name. Remember, that's the one we had, or here, this one, employee name with underscore. So we say here employee name, remove the colon. There we are. So once we do this, this of course will be the full name, and this full name should be in here. So once we have all of this, we can now save this, and let's see how this starts to work. Alright, we got this here. Now what I want to do is to get this in there. So let's check how we get all of this data nicely being presented here. I was expecting it to be already in here, but for some reason it doesn't. So that's alright. Let's check here what's going on. Alright, so after some quick checking, I figured it out, and it's absolutely a bad mistake from my part. So we have everything working. So basically it all works, but there's one issue here. Without thinking about it, I forgot to adjust this one here. And you might have noticed I just copied it, and without paying attention, I adjusted only these two up. Because our array here shows all the correct values. So what I want to do here now is just, this is the employee full name. And that of course should be equal employee full name here. So if I save this now, and now this should all work. So if I refresh here now, there you are. So now we get all of the data here. And we can confirm this by doing the following here. What I'm going to do here, we're going to remove this, remove that one, and then make sure we save this part. And then we go here. And what I want to do here is just the console log. You can see here, this will confirm now that we have all of these items here shown as well. So if I save this here, alright, let's try this again. There we are. So here we are, we have all these values here. Everything shows nicely. And this is it for now. And of course you might say, well, we can do a lot more, and absolutely. I'm going to show you some other tricks as well, what we can do in the next video, where we go a bit more deeper. Maybe we can filter out certain items, get in the highest values, etc., etc. There's a lot more we can do.